Health and fitness requires more than just the physical work. It starts with the work you put in to grow your mind. Welcome to the Mind Gains podcast, where we discuss what it takes mentally to see results physically. I'm your host, Jess. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Mind Gains podcast. I hope you had a great week since we last spoke. Today, we're going to be talking about, honestly, one of my all-time favorite topics when it comes to anything in health and fitness, and that is going to be what training with purpose looks like in the gym. I think sometimes that we don't realize that going to the gym and working out is very, very different from actually training. If we want really great results, which of course is what we all want, we need to actually be training when we're in the gym. We don't want to do the hard work of getting ourselves up and getting ready and driving ourselves to the gym just to give less than what's actually required in order to have a really effective, really efficient workout and then see the results that we are actually wanting to see. Because it's really, really great if you get yourself to the gym 3 to 5 days a week, whatever you have personally committed yourself to. But unless you are actually working while you are in the four walls of the gym, it doesn't really matter so much if you're just kind of showing up there, if you're just kind of going through the motions and you're not really intentional with the work that you're putting in. And when I say that, of course, I do believe that something is always better than nothing. Like, it is better that you just go to the gym and do something rather than just kind of staying home, not getting active, not getting exercise in. It's always going to be better to do something rather than nothing. But again, I personally don't like to waste my time. I don't want to just go to the gym and give half of my effort and give half of what's actually need to see the results that I am after, and then waste my own time and be upset that I am stuck in the same spot as I was before when I could have just put in the necessary work to get to where I wanted to be and not waste my time. So I want to go over what that looks like, what it means to actually train intentionally in the gym. And you want to have really great self-awareness around this. Honestly, around every piece of this, you want to be really self-aware when it comes to how well you're doing in the gym. Like, are you really challenging yourself? Are you really pushing your limits and pushing the boundaries and trying to give more than you did last week? You have to be able to kind of call yourself out when you know you're giving less than what you should actually be doing, because all of this can be really, really subjective. Like, what I personally for myself consider a really challenging workout might be totally different from what you consider as a really challenging workout. Obviously, it is going to be a little bit subjective, but you have to be able to get to the point where you are leaving the gym knowing every day that you gave it all you had that day, that you gave 150% effort for that day. And that's going to look different day to day, week to week, just dependent on a number of different factors. Like, you're not going to give 150% every single day and have that look exactly the same every single day. But whatever your 150% is for that day, you need to give it. Because honestly, if you're giving anything less than that, you're leaving a lot on the table, and you're leaving a lot of your results and your progress on the table. But you will also be able to tell if you are not giving it your all, if you are always leaving multiple reps in the tank, every single exercise, you're following a workout plan, right? And it says you're doing barbell hip thrusts, 3 sets of 8, and you get to that 8th rep and you just put the barbell down and you say, all right, done and dusted, like, don't have to worry about it anymore. If you are doing that and you are ending your set not really that fatigued, you're not out of breath, you're not in pain, honestly, like, not the bad kind of pain, let me just clarify, but your actual muscles are on fire. If you ended that set knowing darn well you could have given 1, 2, maybe even 5+ more reps, you are not doing enough. That is not how you get muscle growth. Now, if you are a beginner, it is always best to kind of start off, with that 3 sets of 8 to 10, whatever it's going to be, kind of following that plan until you get form really down, until you feel very comfortable with the movements. You're going to make sure that you're not overly sore after each session, just because obviously if you're brand new to this, you have to kind of ease into things a little bit slower, because any new movement is going to cause you to be really, really sore. So then obviously if we're going to like failure on things straight out the gate, you're probably not going to be able to move for about 2 weeks straight, and we don't want that. But I'm talking if you are getting a little bit more advanced, you've been lifting for a year plus in the gym, and you are very, very confident with your barbell hip thrust. If you are leaving reps in the tank, you are not going to be developing muscle mass probably the way that you want to. If you set that barbell down at rep 8 and you know that you could have given more, you are going through the motions and you are not training intentionally. You are not bringing yourself to failure. You are not challenging yourself. If you were able to get more reps out, you need to either get those reps out, get that barbell back up and keep going till you can't anymore, or you need to stack on some weights and get to the point where you are failing at rep 8. That's also another way you're going to know if you're not challenging yourself enough, is if you are never, ever increasing weights, or you're doing it at a very, 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 very slow rate. You are not decreasing your rest times ever. You are not getting stronger to where you can lift more weight. You're just staying very stagnant in your workouts for weeks or months on end. I promise you, if you are lifting the same weights for barbell hip thrusts for a month straight, a month and a half, whatever it is, even though that weight might still feel challenging, like it might still feel like you get a little bit of a burn after 8 to 10 reps, I promise you, you are probably strong enough to throw a little bit more weight on there. I think a lot of times we think that we have to wait for a certain weight to feel very comfortable and very easy for us to be like, all right, now I'm ready to add on more weight after this. That's not true. If you've been doing the same number of reps at the same weight with the same exercise for weeks on end, you need to try upping your weight, even if you don't feel like you're quite ready for it, because you're always going to think you're not ready for it. But the fact of the matter is, most of us are stronger than we actually think we are. And if you're doing the same weight for barbell hip thrust 5 weeks in a row, your muscles aren't being challenged anymore, which means they don't have to adapt. They don't have to grow. The only way our muscles actually break down and then repair and grow and get bigger and stronger is because we have placed a heavy enough load, a heavy enough stimulus, that they have no choice but to adapt. It's like survival out here, right? It's like adapt or die, basically. And obviously our muscles don't die, but that's just kind of like the reaction that they have. It's like, all right, I have to adapt, because I know last week this crazy lady made me lift, I don't know, 205 for barbell hip thrust. I know she's probably going to ask me to lift a little bit heavier next time. Maybe she's going to go to 215 or 225. I have to adapt and I have to get bigger and stronger so that I'm able to handle that load next time. And us bringing sets till failure, where again, we are on the last rep of whatever we're doing, we are physically failing. Like, you cannot get that weight back up. You're doing your hip thrust, and on the last set, rep 10 that you're doing, you physically can't get that rep out. Like, you are failing. You are trying, you are struggling, you fail. Your body knows that, and it says, all right, bet. We got to get bigger. We got to get stronger, because next time we need to be ready to be able to handle that weight next time, because we know she's going to ask us to do it. It's also probably not a great sign if you are literally never sore. And when it comes to that, I will preface this by saying that soreness is not the best indicator of whether a workout was great or really bad. If you're not sore after a particular workout, it doesn't mean that that workout wasn't effective. It doesn't necessarily mean that that workout didn't do anything. Your level of soreness actually comes down a lot more to how well you are recovering after that workout, with your protein intake, your calorie intake, your rest and your recovery, your sleep, all of that. But I will say, if you are never sore, like after any workout for months on end, not a good sign. You don't need to be overly sore. You don't want to be overly sore, right? But you don't need to be insanely sore after every single exercise, every single lift, every single week. But you should probably be feeling a little bit sore sometimes, right? And if you're not, that's probably a pretty good indicator that you are not challenging yourself enough. you're not really feeling that sore, it's probably way less likely that your recovery is just that phenomenal that you are never sore, and probably way more likely that you're just never challenging your muscles enough for them to actually feel a little bit sore after your lifts. I know we've gone over this in a previous episode. I don't even remember when it was. It was back at like the beginning. So we're going to talk about this again, but there is a subjective way to rate your workouts, and that is called the RPE scale, which stands for rate of perceived exertion. Again, you are just rating subjectively how hard you feel like you're working in your exercises, in your lifts. In general, you want to be aiming for close to a 7 to 8 out of 10 on the RPE scale. The RPE scale goes from 1 to 10. So on that 1 to 10 scale, aiming for a 7 to 8 for most of your workouts. Now, there's going to be moments probably where in your exercises you do get up to a 9, a 10. That is like all out max effort. You cannot sustain that type of output for very long, like probably longer than 30 to 60, maybe 90 seconds at most. That is like 10 out of 10. Sometimes in your workouts, you might reach there. I know for myself, leg days, I always reach that at least a few times. On upper body days, I don't quite get there because upper body is just not quite as intense usually as lower body is. They're smaller muscle groups, they're just not quite as difficult to maintain a lower heart rate while performing those movements. Whereas lower body days, just naturally more intense. They are larger muscle groups, more compound movements. It's going to require more output. But when you get closer to a 7 to 8 out of 10, that is like, I'm still putting out a lot of effort right now. Like I'm really, really struggling in this workout. It's very, very challenging, but I am able to maintain this for probably an hour to, 90 minutes at a time. Like I couldn't go much longer than that, but I am able to maintain this. After each of my sets of whatever exercise I'm doing, I have to put the weights down, probably take some deep breaths, get my heart rate back under control. It probably started to elevate a little bit. If my gym buddy or my husband, my spouse, whoever comes over to me after my set and they start a conversation with me, I can probably answer just in very choppy sentences. Like I'm not able to talk very easily, but I'm still able to get it out. Whereas like a 10 is, I am not talking to no one. If anyone comes up to me, they're going to have to wait a whole like 3 minutes before they get anything out of me because I am actually kind of dying over here. That is 10 out of 10. Again, aiming for 7 to 8 usually for the majority of your time in the gym is going to be helpful for making sure that your workouts are pretty effective. Now, when it comes to lower intensity workouts, there's definitely a time and a place for them. I'm not saying that you can't ever be in the gym and during your workouts be at a 2 to 5 or 6 on the scale. Like there's a time and a place for those types of workouts. If you're having more of an active rest day, you might be like a 2 or 3 on the scale. If you are taking things a little bit lighter, like maybe you're coming out of just having a minor injury, you want to ease back into things, you're a beginner in the gym, you are just feeling really, really stiff and sore after one of your last workouts, so you still want to get to the gym, but you're just taking things a little bit easier, there's a time and a place for lower intensity workouts, but in general, 7 to 8 out of 10 is what I would say, general rule of thumb. Now, there's going to be some things that you can do to help push past your limits. I know we've spoken about progressive overload, increasing weights, increasing reps, decreasing rest times. There's so many things that we can do to kind of make your workouts more intense and get closer to that 7 or 8 on the RPE scale without just automatically having to like jump up in weights, because sometimes we are actually stuck at a weight. There are times when it's like, I have been on this same weight for 4 weeks straight, genuinely putting everything I have into this, genuinely trying to increase my weight here, and I just can't. I'm stuck here at this weight. There's other things that we can do to try to break past that plateau and also make sure that we are progressively overloading still, but in other ways that don't require an increase in weights. And these are called training intensifiers. It's in the name of what they are. It is just ways to intensify your training, again, without quite having to increase weights or anything like that. So we will run through these. First and foremost, I feel like one of the most popular ones, one of my favorites, is drop sets. So I actually feel like there's a couple of different ways to do drop sets. Number one, we can either start off with a heavier weight. Maybe you are barbell squatting, right? And you're doing whatever your like heaviest weight is that you can get out 8 to 10 reps, right? Maybe you're barbell squatting 145, let's just say, to throw a number out there, and you can get out, again, 8 to 10 reps. You get out 8 reps. Fantastic. That's set one. Now, the next set, we can drop the weight, but then increase the amount of reps that we're doing. So maybe you drop down to 125 and you get out 10 reps on the second set rather than 8 on the first one. You get that out. Then set three, you drop again. Maybe you go to, I don't know, 100 pounds, let's just say 105. You get out 12 reps. That is one way to do a drop set where, again, you are just progressively in each set, you are dropping the weight, but then you're increasing your reps basically. You know, okay, I can't get out any more weight with this amount right here that I started with what did I say, like 145. Let me drop the weights. I'm going to get out some more the next time around. You could also do drop sets where, using the same example, set one, you get out 8 reps at 145, but instead of waiting for your next set to kind of drop the weight and continue on, you would immediately, after rep 8, you're like failing basically on rep 8, you would immediately drop the weights again, maybe down to like 125, 110, something like that. You would drop the weights without any rest and then go straight back into the exercise until you are failing again. And you can either do this once, you can do it multiple times. You can do it where, all right, now I failed doing 125 for 12 reps, let's just say, and I can end my set there. Or maybe you want to continue even further and you drop the weight again down to 105 and you keep banging them out until you get like 15 reps out. You physically can't get the weight back up anymore. Your legs are shaking, your quads are cooked, like you're done. So a couple different ways to do drop sets. I like to throw those in there every now and then. I really like to do anything where I'm working on like endurance after I just did strength. I don't know. I like combining those a lot of times. So perfect example, a lot of times I will do some squats, maybe on Smith machine, whatever. Immediately after I've just failed on my squats on Smith machine, I will step back and I will start doing body weight squats until I physically cannot get myself back up anymore. I am falling to the ground. I'm done. Like, that is one of my favorite ways to take my sets to absolute failure. Like, I just failed on my Smith machine squat with 145 pounds on there. Let's just say whatever I'm doing that day, I'm going to immediately go into body weight and I'm going to fail again. Like, the best way to absolutely cook whatever muscle group you're trying to cook, basically. So that is drop sets. You also have supersets, which I personally do not like. I do not program for myself. That's putting it nicely. I hate supersets. I really, really do. I can't tell you why. I've just always hated them. So I don't program them for myself. I'm not going to program something that I actually really, really hate doing. But I will tell you what they are in case you're not aware. Supersets basically is just you pushing 2 exercises back to back without any rest in between. So let's say you are doing incline dumbbell bicep curls and you want to superset that with some dips, right? You're doing tricep dips on the bench. You would do your however many reps with your bicep curls. Let's just say 10, I don't know, 10 reps of bicep curls. And then without taking any rest, you're going to put the dumbbells down, you're going to turn around, and you're going to do your bench tricep dips. Then after you do that with however many reps you were going to do, that is when you take a rest. You take a rest and then you repeat for another superset. A lot of times people like supersets because they make your workout a little bit quicker, right? Because you're pushing 2 workouts, 2 exercises back to back without any rest. So you're able to get through your workout a little bit quicker. But again, I personally just don't love them. I personally find that if I'm doing 2 things back to back, I don't give as big of an effort to either of them. I feel like I'm almost like splitting my effort 50-50 because I know I'm not going to like push myself to absolute failure with these bicep curls because I know I got a whole nother set of bench tricep dips after that. So I'm almost like purposely reserving things in the tank, and I don't like doing that. For myself, I believe that's what I do. I don't like doing it. I don't like supersets, but they might be helpful for you. You might like them. So if you're interested, try them out, but that's just another way to kind of intensify things a little bit more. You can also do rest pause sets. So for example, you're doing dumbbell lateral raises, right? With a rest pause set, you are going to be taking your sets until absolute failure. So set 1, you grab a challenging weight where you can still maintain perfect form, but it is going to be a challenging weight. You're not picking up 2.5 pound dumbbells or 5 pound dumbbells, probably. You're picking something up a little bit heavier that, again, you can still maintain perfect form with. Then you're going to take that set until failure. Again, you cannot physically get the weight back up. Once you reach failure, you're going to put the weights down and pause for 10 seconds. You're going to give yourself a 10-second break. Then, after the 10 seconds are up, you're going to pick the dumbbells back up. You're going to keep going. Set 2. You're going to take that until absolute failure. You're probably not going to get out as many reps as the first time. Totally fine. You're going to take that until failure. You're going to put the dumbbells down, rest for 10 seconds, pick them back up, go until failure again, and repeat the process multiple times. Again, you could do this for 3 reps, 4 reps. You could take this until you're like, I physically cannot lift my arms anymore. Like, that is a rest pause set. You are just taking very, very short breaks. It's almost like you're barely taking any breaks, right? But very short breaks until you physically can't get the weight back up anymore. You can also always do half reps. I think a lot of times people feel afraid to do half reps, which is, once you've gotten to like the end of your set, you are not able to get out another full rep, but you are kind of taking things to that half rep, basically. I usually like to do these on any sort of like hamstring curl or leg extension, some accessory movement like that. I'm thinking if you're doing hamstring curls, right, you are not able to fully bring your leg all the way back up for a full rep, but you are doing half reps where you're still performing the movement. You're just not able to get all the way back up there for like a full range of motion. Still very effective because no, you're not quite getting that full rep out, but you, instead of stopping to where, okay, I'm pretty tired, but I still have a little bit kind of like left in reserve in the tank, you are getting it all out there and you're pushing past that initial fatigue, I guess, and allowing your muscles to be really, really challenged. So I love doing half reps, especially if I have some sort of spotter as well. Usually, like if Moss is there, I'm doing some sort of, again, maybe like shoulder press, something like that. Like, I'm not quite able to get that full rep up on my own, but if he's there, he can help me with it. And it takes some of the weight off, of course, but I'm still pushing past that initial point of failure. I also love any sort of tempo work or doing like slow eccentrics. I love really slow, methodical movements. I always, always have. And I find that especially if I'm stuck at a certain weight, doing it this way and adding in that tempo work helps me to push past that plateau a lot of times. So to think about tempo work, instead of just kind of getting through your squats as quickly as possible, think about lowering during that first part of the squat on a 3 count, pausing for 1 second at the bottom and then coming back up, and then lowering again on a slow 3 count, pausing for 1 second at the bottom, then coming back up. It makes it a lot more challenging rather than just getting through the movement as quickly as possible. And it also allows you to really focus on the muscles that you're using and allow them to contract and allow you to develop a really great mind-muscle connection, which is super, super important during strength training. So these are all different training intensifiers that can and should be used when you are programming for yourself. But again, if you are super new, brand new to strength training, beginner, I would not incorporate these just right off the bat. Most important thing, of course, is always going to be form and making sure that all of your movements are performed correctly to make sure that you are minimizing risk of injury and just having effective workouts in general. But as you become more intermediate or an advanced lifter, incorporating training intensifiers is a really, really great way to build up the intensity of your workouts and make sure that you are pushing past failure, progressively overloading, and being very intentional with your time in the gym. And just know that if you are newer to this, or you're newer to training intensifiers, or making sure that your time in the gym is very intentional, it's not going to be fun. It's a lot easier and a lot less difficult, at least at first, to get in the gym and kind of just rush through things and go through the motions. It's a lot harder to be intentional with your time there and make sure that your workouts are really, really effective. But we were never promised easy with this journey. Building muscle is not easy at all. Losing fat is not easy at all. But you will get to a point, if you do it long enough and you do it with enough intentionality, that you will actually start to enjoy it even more. You're going to absolutely hate that you feel sore and you feel tired and you feel so out of breath after all of your exercises, that's going to definitely take some getting used to. But at the end of it all, it's actually so much better because you know that you're being effective and what you're doing is working, that you are actually working hard for the results that you want and the results that you're gonna get. You are putting in the time and the effort to reach the goals that you have set for yourself. So it's not necessarily easy to get into that mindset of I'm going to the gym to train rather than just work out and rather than just lift some weights and go through the motions and call it a day. But that is what gives us the results that we are after. And again, eventually, I think that's actually what leads to us actually enjoying our workouts because we are being challenged. You should be leaving the gym pretty much every day knowing that you challenged yourself, knowing that you did everything that you could have that day. You gave it 150% effort for that day and you left nothing on the table. Like I said at the beginning, you have to have that self-awareness to know whether you're doing that or not, but you also have to have that self-awareness in the moment. Like while you're in the gym, you need to be self-aware enough to know if you are slacking a little bit or if you are truly genuinely giving it your all in that moment. Because it's great if you can recognize that after the fact, you leave the gym and you're like, you know what? Yeah, I probably could have given it a little bit more. I probably did leave a little bit in the tank when I definitely shouldn't have. It's great if you can recognize that, but then if you never do anything to change that and you're always just recognizing it after the fact, like it's too late at that point. You've already left the gym. You're already home, right? You can't go back and change it at that point. So you need to be self-aware in the moment and then do something to change it if you see that you are not challenging yourself enough. Something that is really, really great to ask yourself in the moment is, can I make this movement harder? As I am physically struggling in the moment, doing my barbell hip thrust, doing my squats, doing my dumbbell bicep curls, whatever it's going to be, like, is there anything I can do to make this harder right now? And if the answer is yes, you should probably do it. You should probably do it because if you can find a way to make it harder, you're probably not giving enough as is, and then you're not being challenged enough. So looking for ways to make things more challenging in the moment is what personally helped me kind of identify when I was not giving enough and when I knew I needed to kind of push myself a little bit further, even though it is not the comfortable thing to do. So some practical things to make sure that you are being intentional with your time in the gym, you are progressively overloading. Number one, you want to be tracking your workouts. If you are not currently tracking your workouts, whether that is pen to paper, whether that is in your notes app on your phone, it doesn't matter how you track it. You just need to make sure you are if you're not already doing that. Track your lifts. Aim to improve weekly. It's also not going to do anything if you are tracking your lifts, but then you're never looking back to see what you did last week or, the last time you did that lift. When you are going in for your upper body day, let's just say, what you should be doing is pulling up last week's upper body day and seeing where you were weight-wise, rep-wise, set-wise, all the things with every exercise, and then try to be a little bit better this time around. You're not always going to be improving every single exercise every single week, but seeing where you were last week and trying to increase the weights just a little bit, whether that's like 5 pounds or just get 1 or 2 more reps out, is going to be how you can be very intentional with your time in the gym and constantly aim to be a little bit better, to lift a little bit more, and to progressively overload. Again, training until failure, super, super important, or at least very close to it. Even if you're not quite getting exactly to failure, getting very close to it, where that last 1 to 3 reps are a major struggle. You really have no idea if you're going to be able to lift that weight for another rep. You are really, really challenging yourself that last little bit, especially if you have a goal for muscle hypertrophy. If you want to build any sort of muscle mass, if you want to look more lean and defined, which comes from having muscle mass, which comes from building muscle mass, you need to be training till failure or very, very close to it. You need to be placing enough stimulus on your muscles so that they are forced to actually have to change and adapt. If you're not placing that kind of stimulus on your body, if you're not putting enough load on your body for it to have that conversation of, oh crap, she's asking me to lift heavier than I'm actually able to do right now. I have to change and I have to adapt so that I can respond to it better next time around. You're not going to be building muscle mass. But with that being said, I know I keep talking about increasing weights, doing all those things. But again, if form is not where it needs to be, that's number one. That is absolutely hands down number one. We also don't want to just be ego lifting, right? So it's great if you can bicep curl some 25s, but if your form is off, it does not matter. It would be better if you would just lower the weights to whatever you need to, whether that's 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever it is, lower the weights until you are able to control the dumbbells throughout the entirety of the movement. There is no swinging, there is no using momentum, there is no I'm controlling it during the curl up, but then I'm just kind of swinging it on the way down. It would be better if you just drop the weight and maintained really fantastic form throughout the entirety of the movement. You're gonna see better results from that. Train with intent. Make sure you are connecting your mind to your muscle as much as possible and not ego lifting, but at the same time, increasing weights when you're able to, and not kind of just keeping yourself stuck at the same spot for weeks on end because you are too afraid to challenge yourself and go pick up a heavier weight. Again, training hard and training with intentionality is not optional if you want to significantly change your body composition. I'm talking family members, friends, whoever, they don't see you for a year. And when they do, you look like an entirely different person. Lower body fat percentage, higher muscle mass percentage. You look like an entirely different person with an entirely different body composition. If you want that to be you, when it comes to workouts, you have to train hard. You have to work hard. You're not going to be rewarded anything if you are giving less than optimal effort. Again, with health and fitness, you get out of it exactly what you put into it. So if you're not really happy with your body composition, obviously there's other things that go into play here. There's lots of other things. There's nutrition, there's, lifestyle factors that go into this as well, but we're talking specifically workouts today. If you're unhappy with your body composition and you've been in the gym, you feel like you're doing all the things, I'm really hate to tell you, but you might not be doing exactly what you think you are or as much as you think you're doing, and you're just kind of going through the motions. You're not training with intensity like you need to. You're not challenging yourself in the gym and giving it everything that you have for that day. And as a little bit of a disclaimer, when I say this, I'm not saying that we're in the gym 7 days a week and we're overdoing it with training. Like, that's a whole different conversation. But everything I'm saying is under the premise of you are also balancing your time in the gym really well with rest days and recovery, right? As long as that is in play, if you are still not seeing the results that you want from your time in the gym, it's probably coming down to just how much you're giving while you're there. Everything you do here needs to be very, very intentional. You cannot go through the motions. There are no shortcuts. There is no, I'm going to trick my body into changing its body composition just from like getting myself in the gym. Like, no, you actually have to go and put in the work. You have to show up the way you need to every day, every week, for months on end. Like, you have to do that. There is no getting out of it. And the results that you get are entirely dependent on the work that you're putting in. So start showing up with full effort. Don't do the hard work of dragging yourself to the gym and then not doing what you need to see the results, because you're probably going to feel a lot more frustrated that way. You're probably going to feel like you are spinning your wheels a lot more because you are doing the hard work of actually getting yourself there, but then you're stopping and you're not giving what it actually takes while you are in the gym to see the results that you want. And then you're going to get frustrated, then you're going to get upset, and you're going to say, this doesn't work for me, when in reality, you just haven't worked hard enough for it. You haven't done what it actually takes to see the results that you want to see. And nobody deserves that. You don't deserve to struggle dragging yourself to the gym every single morning at 5 a.m. and then not see the results that you want out of it, right? You deserve to put in the hard work so that you can reach the goals that you're after. But it just comes down to actually knowing what it takes to reach what you're after and then actually following that through with putting in the work to get there. So that is all I have for you today. I hope this was helpful in some way or other. Again, I know I went a little bit more in depth on the RPE scale in one of my previous episodes. It was a while back. So if you are interested in hearing more on that, go ahead and give that episode a listen. Otherwise, I would love it if you are able to leave a review on this podcast, if you're able to share it with somebody who you know might find it helpful, if you're able to share it on social media, whatever you are able to do in order to support this podcast in any way, shape, or form is always going to be very much appreciated by me. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. But as always, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk next time.